Okay, think about this for a second. What if you could swap out a powerful prescription for a system, a precise, timed set of behaviors? Sounds kind of wild, right? Well, today we're going to break down a fascinating case study that does just that. It's all about a protocol that gets your body's internal clocks in sync to get incredible control over your metabolism. So let's set the stage. Here's where things started. For a 76-year-old man with type 2 diabetes, this number, 180 milligrams per deciliter, was his normal after a meal. But here's the kicker, and this is so important. That was while he was taking his medication. This wasn't an unmanaged number. This was his medicated baseline, his everyday reality. All right, so this led to a really interesting choice. On one hand, you've got Mounjaro. I mean, a super powerful modern drug for managing glucose. And on the other hand, a totally different path. It's a behavioral system built around something as simple as a metronome and a very specific sequence of actions. And let's be clear, this wasn't about just adding a new healthy habit on top of everything. This was a direct swap, a pharmaceutical for a protocol. And here's the result. This is what's so incredible. After stopping the medication and putting this protocol into action, his post-meal glucose numbers consistently landed at or below 140. Now, to really understand what that means, 140 is the upper limit for a non-diabetic person. So we're not just talking about a small improvement here. This is a complete fundamental shift in his metabolic health achieved without the drug. So what do you even call this? Well, this whole approach has a name, and it's perfect: mechanical medicine. It's this powerful idea that you can use physical things, these physical levers like timed movement and how you sequence your food, to get a specific, predictable, almost drug-like effect on your body. You're basically using mechanics to create a biological outcome. And you've got to remember this term because it's the key to understanding everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so how on earth does this actually work? Well, the protocol is built on 4 main pillars. And the very first one is all about understanding your body's master clock. Because it turns out it's not just what you're eating, it's when you're eating that can completely change the game. This gets into the science of what's called chrononutrition. And it's pretty simple, really. Your body is just not the same machine at 8 in the morning as it is at 8 at night. In the morning, your insulin sensitivity is naturally at its absolute peak. Your system is literally primed and ready to deal with glucose super efficiently. So the protocol just leans into this. It uses this natural advantage that your body already has. And the way you put this into practice is with something called early time restricted eating, or you might see it as ETRE. It's all about front-loading your calories, eating your bigger meals earlier in the day. When you do this, you get this amazing downstream effect. It's called the second meal effect. Basically, by getting your breakfast right, your body has a much better glucose response to your lunch later on. It sets you up for success for the whole day. All right, pillar number 2. This is all about what you do right before you eat. I mean, literally, before the first bite of food even passes your lips. The idea is to prime your body, to get it ready for the glucose that's coming. And we do this using 2 gatekeepers that prepare the whole system. And this is where you really start to see the synergy. The 2 gatekeepers work together. You've got the chemical gatekeeper, that's diluted apple cider vinegar, which helps slow down how fast starches get digested. And at the exact same time, you have the mechanical gatekeeper. We're talking simple squats, that tells your biggest muscles to get ready to soak up that glucose right out of your blood. It's not one or the other. They work in perfect harmony. Now, the mechanical part sounds intense, but it's incredibly simple and very precise. We're just talking 10 to 15 deep squats. The key is a slow 3-second descent on the way down. The goal here isn't a workout, we're not trying to build huge muscles. The goal is to send a very specific biological signal to your muscle cells. So what is that signal? Well, the mechanism here is just fascinating. Those squats trigger something called GLUT4 translocation. Okay, what does that mean in simple terms? It means the squats tell your muscles to move their glucose transporters, think of them like little doors for sugar, to the surface of the cell. This creates what you can think of as a glucose sink before you even start eating. Your muscles are just sitting there, ready and waiting to soak up sugar from your blood, and they can do it without needing a huge surge of insulin. Okay, so you've timed your meal perfectly with chrononutrition. You've primed your body with the 2 gatekeepers. So what happens right after you finish eating? Well, this is where the post-meal pulse comes in, and it's designed to do one thing: sweep all that glucose out of your blood as efficiently as possible.
Now, to clear that glucose, you have to be in the right heart rate zone, and getting this right is absolutely critical. Look, the old formula everyone knows, 220 minus your age, would say this person's max heart rate is 144. But, and this is a big but, for someone who's active, the much more accurate Tanaka formula puts his max at 155. That might not sound like much, but that 11-beat difference is everything when it comes to finding the right metabolic zone.
So based on that more accurate formula, here's the magic number. The target range is between 93 and 108 beats per minute. This is what we call zone 2. It's the aerobic Goldilocks zone. It's just right. It's intense enough to burn glucose for fuel, but it's not so intense that it triggers a stress response with cortisol, which ironically would just make your blood sugar go up.
So, how do you stay in that perfect little zone without staring at a heart rate monitor the whole time? It's genius, actually. A simple metronome. By setting it to about 92 beats per minute while you're walking, it acts like a metabolic governor. It just keeps your pace perfectly consistent. It prevents you from accidentally pushing too hard and getting into a heart rate zone that's actually counterproductive. It's all about precision, made incredibly simple.
But wait, the work isn't over just because the post-meal walk is done. Think about it. What about all that time you spend sitting between meals and activities? That presents its own massive metabolic challenge. So this next pillar is all about building a bridge to get you over those sedentary gaps in your day. It's actually kind of startling how fast things go south when we're just sitting still. I mean, within only 30 minutes of sitting down, a critical metabolic switch in your body just gets flipped off. Your body pretty much stops clearing fats and sugars from your bloodstream and goes right into storage mode. And that switch? It's an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, or LPL. The easiest way to think about it is like a little doorman for your muscles, pulling fuel in from your blood. But when you sit, LPL activity just tanks, it plummets, and that leaves all that fuel just circulating in your bloodstream, which is exactly where you don't want it. So the solution is what we call the bridge strategy, and it's got 3 parts. First, the 30-minute rule. Simple. Just don't sit for more than half an hour at a time. Second, break up that sitting with 5-minute Zone 2 exercise snacks. A quick brisk walk is perfect. And third, and this is really cool, while you are sitting, you can do something called the soleus push-up. It's a simple movement that uses your calf muscle to burn glucose right then and there, keeping that metabolic engine humming along.
So, when you look at all these pieces, it's so important to realize that none of them really work in isolation. This whole thing is not about one single trick, you know? It's not just about the apple cider vinegar or just the walk after your meal. It's about the synergy of a complete system, a whole operating system for your body, where every single component, the timing, the priming, the clearing, and the bridging makes all the other parts work even better.
And that really brings us to a final and I think pretty powerful question. You know, we're always looking for the next pill, the next single solution to manage our health. But what if the most powerful, the most precise, the most personalized prescription you could ever have is already in your hands? What if it's encoded in the rhythm and the timing of your own daily routine?